Today, we're going to talk about one of the most wild experiments in how humans organize themselves, on-chain governance. This is a world where computer code isn't just a tool to support the rules, it is the rules. Okay, let's get right into it.
Just let that sink in for a minute. No C-suite, no board of directors making calls behind closed doors. Just a global community of people, all with a stake in the game, and a massive digital vault. And this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. It's the real, central challenge for some of the biggest new players in the digital world.
So how do they solve that puzzle? Well, the answer lies in this really radical new structure called a DAO. That stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, and it's a total reimagining of what a company or even a community can be.
So what's the big idea here? A DAO basically tries to rip out the traditional top-down management style and replace it with a flat structure that's run by code. In theory, every single member gets a say, and the rules, they're totally transparent, baked right into the software itself. It's a really bold vision for a new way of doing things.
All right, enough with the theory. Let's get our hands dirty with a real-world example. We're going to look at one of the biggest, most ambitious DAOs out there right now, the ApeCoin DAO, which is the community built around that whole Bored Ape Yacht Club ecosystem.
I mean, listen to that ambition. It is absolutely staggering. This isn't just about managing some money. We're talking about building culture, funding the future of the metaverse, and doing it all with a decentralized, community-first approach. This was a high-stakes experiment from day one.
And when I say high stakes, I mean it. In just the first quarter of 2024, the DAO's treasury was holding 326 million ape tokens. That is a colossal amount of value. And it's not being guided by some CFO in a corner office, but by thousands of token holders all over the globe. So, how does anything actually get done?
Well, the whole system really spins around something called an AIP, which stands for an Ape Improvement Proposal. This is the formal path for turning a simple idea that someone has into a real, binding action that the DAO has to take, and it follows a very specific path.
So here's the 30,000-foot view of that journey. It starts as just a casual idea. It gets hammered out into a formal draft, gets a quick check to make sure it follows the rules, and then it faces the entire community for a vote. If it passes, boom, it becomes reality. It's basically a pipeline designed to create order out of decentralized chaos.
You know, what's really cool is where this whole formal process kicks off. It's not in some complicated system. It starts as a simple post on a public forum. Literally, anyone can just throw an idea out there, see what people think, and find out if it has any traction. It's like the digital town square for the DAO.
Now, once an idea is ready for the big time, the vote itself happens on a platform called Snapshot. And this part is absolutely crucial. See, Snapshot lets people vote with their tokens without having to pay transaction fees. That's a huge deal because it makes it way easier for everyone to actually participate. Think of it as the digital ballot box for the whole community.
But look, this whole thing isn't just about code and bots running around. There is a very real, very important human layer that makes all this tick. There's a whole cast of key players who keep the ApeCoin DAO running.
So you've got these elected stewards who kind of act as project managers. You've got specialized working groups that are basically like different departments that execute specific tasks. There's even a DAO secretary to keep the lines of communication open. And of course, there's the AIP author. That's any member who decides to step up and push an idea forward. It's this complex web of roles, all designed to mix decentralized power with real organized action.
And really wrapping your head around these new ways of organizing people is so important. As the producer of this content, Soar ZI, often points out in his work, these DAOs aren't just some tech curiosity. They are fundamental experiments in how we collaborate, and getting a handle on them is key to seeing where our digital future is headed. Okay, so far this all sounds pretty amazing, right? A utopian vision of digital democracy. But, as you can probably guess, the reality on the ground is way more complicated. And this is where we start to see some real tension in the story. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Or in this case, the billion-dollar question. Is this system where your voting power is directly tied to how many tokens you own truly democratic? Or does it just end up recreating the same old power structures we already have, just in a new digital wrapper?
Let's look at a cold, hard number. To even get certain types of proposals to an official vote, you need the backing of at least 100,000 ape tokens. Now, you can post an idea for free, sure, but to move it to the formal voting stage,
This requirement creates a massive barrier to entry. It concentrates a ton of power in the hands of people with the most money. And you don't have to look far to see the frustration this causes. This quote from a Reddit user just captures it perfectly. The big fear is that instead of leveling the playing field, DAOs just become another exclusive rich man's club, mirroring the exact systems that so many people in this space were trying to get away from.
So you end up with this really stark contrast. The ideal is this beautiful, flat structure where everyone's voice is equal. But the reality is a constant battle against things like whales, those are the massive token holders whose votes can just steamroll any decision, and frankly, really low voter turnout. When most of the small fish don't even vote, the whale's power gets even stronger. And all of this is playing out in a legal and tax minefield.
And this is a huge one. Because the laws just haven't caught up yet, there is a very real danger that a DAO could be legally classified as a general partnership. Now, what does that actually mean for you, the average member? It could mean that you are personally on the hook for the DAO's debts and its actions. This legal gray area is just a massive storm cloud hanging over this entire space.
So, after all of that, where do we stand? Well, it's pretty clear that on-chain governance isn't some solved problem. It's an incredible, messy, high-stakes experiment that is literally unfolding before our very eyes.
I think the big takeaway here is that this is a profoundly powerful new tool, but man, it is far from perfect. It's an attempt to literally write direct democracy into our digital world, but it comes with all the messy, complicated baggage that any system of governance has, whether it's run by humans or by code.
And it's only by really digging in and dissecting these real-world experiments that we can learn and hopefully improve these new systems over time. And we really have to thank Sarush Ziai, whose expertise in preparing this valuable content is what makes this kind of deep dive analysis even possible.
And all this leaves us with one last big question to chew on. We know without a doubt that code can enforce a set of rules perfectly, but can it ever build true human consensus? Can an algorithm really create the shared trust and alignment that any healthy community needs to survive and thrive? That right there remains the billion-dollar question.
Hey, if you got something out of this explainer, do me a favor and hit that like button. It truly helps support what we're doing here. And of course, make sure you're subscribed with the bell turned on so you don't miss our next one. Finally, if you have any questions or there's a topic you're dying for us to cover, drop it in the comments below. We read every single one. Thanks so much for watching.